What's up, YouTube family? This is K Steps coming to you from Undiluted TV, and I'd like to say what's up, family. I'd like to say thank you for over 500 subscribers. I'd like to say thank you for all the views, all the likes, all the comments. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all the support I'm getting of the channel. I just really want to let you know how grateful I am, how thankful I am, and how much I appreciate you. So let's keep it moving. Let's keep it building. Let's get to 1,000. Let's do this thing. Let's do it, and let's do it together. So again, I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you. Please like, please subscribe, please hit that bell notification. Of course, comment below on this video, because this is going to be another series, but I'm seriously into dealing with what's going on with the children right now. That's what God is laying on my heart, to really deal with some of the things that are going on with the children right now, because the children are our future, and our future can only be as good as our children. So please comment down below if you'd like to support the channel, if you'd like to, to donate to the channel. The PayPal link will also be in the description, along with these 2 articles that I'm going to read from, and any other information that is necessary to be put in the description box. So let's get on into this tonight, because this is disturbing. This whole story is disturbing. Last year, I believe in March, April of last year, the lesbian couple by the name of the Harts basically drove off of a cliff in California and killed themselves and 5 of their children, because they had adopted 6 children, 5 of their children. According to the article that I'm going to read today from sfist.com, I think Devontae's body has still not, his body has still not been discovered, but he is presumed dead. So let's get into this, because I'm going to read to you from what's being reported this year, and then we'll do some backtracking so that I can give you the backstory on it. And again, this is from sfist.com. It is dated April 5th, 2019 by Jay Barman from SFist News. Lesbian couple agreed to murder-suicide pact that killed 6 kids, says NorCal coroner's inquest. And y'all know my computer just do what it want to do when it want to do it. Okay. The tragic and confusing tale of the Hart family, who all died last March when their car drove off a cliff in the California coastal town of Fort Bragg, has come to a final, if tragic, conclusion following a coroner's inquest. It was the first such inquest in Mendocino County in 52 years, and it concluded Thursday after a jury deliberated for less than an hour. The jurors ruled that the crash was the result of a murder-suicide pact, and that both women, Jennifer and Sarah Hart, both 38 years old, were complicit in the deaths of their 6 adopted children and their mutual suicides, as the Associated Press reports. Now, if I stumble a little bit in this one, y'all, this one has me it has me feeling some type of way. Jennifer Hart, who was behind the wheel of the SUV before it flew off the cliff at high speed, had a blood alcohol level of 0.102 at the time of her death, or the equivalent of about 5 shots. It's said that she rarely ever drank, as the Oregon, I'm not real good right now, reports. Sarah Hart had 42 doses of generic Benadryl in her system, and all of the children had been dosed with Benadryl in some form. Police were able to do a forensic search of Sarah Hart's cell phone that found she had been Googling searches for things like, can 500 milligrams of Benadryl kill a 120-pound woman, and is death by drowning relatively painless? She had tried erasing her search history, but it was discoverable nevertheless. Authorities also learned that the Harts sometimes administered Benadryl to the kids on long car trips to help them sleep, and it's believed that Sarah Hart purchased 500 doses of the Walmart brand Equate during the family's road trip from Washington State. As was reported last April via the SUC's onboard computer, Jennifer Hart apparently accelerated 90 up to, okay, this doesn't read right, so I'm gonna read it the way I think it would sound right. Jennifer Hart apparently accelerated up to 90 miles per hour in a 70-foot span without braking. So she accelerated up to 90 miles per hour in a 70-foot span without braking. Okay. Authorities recovered the bodies of Marcus, 19, Hannah, 16, Jeremiah, 14, Abigail, 14, and Sierra, 12. 15-year-old Devontae's remains were never found, but he is presumed dead. So they still haven't found this boy's body. And I think all of you, or maybe most of you, will remember that Devontae was the young man that took the picture crying and hugging the police. I think it was in Portland back in 2015, 2014. But I'll have that picture in this video. Coroner's inquests are typically used only in cases involving high public interest like officer-involved shootings and in-custody deaths, but the decision was made to employ one here because of the mysterious circumstances and number of children involved. The Hart case sparked national interest and inspired a podcast from Stitcher titled Broken Hearts, in which investigative journalists probed the history of the two women's relationship and their decisions to adopt 6 children of multiple races over the course of several years, creating what they called on social media the Hart Tribe. Jennifer Hart had for years been highly active on social media, often posting photos of her children at various public events, including music festivals that the family liked to frequent. Jennifer Hart was especially proud when a photo of Devontae hugging a white police officer with tears streaming down his face during a Portland demonstration went nationally viral in 2014. That's it. The family fled Minnesota following some accusations of child abuse, and the later years of the family's lives were spent in the Pacific Northwest, first in West Lynn, Oregon, and then in Woodland, Washington. Sarah Hart was the breadwinner, working a retail job, whilst Jennifer Hart was a stay-at-home mom with an extremely active presence in the online multiplayer video game world. Near the time the family took off on their fateful trip in late March 2018, neighbors in Woodland reported one of the children, Hannah, had jumped out of her bedroom window and escaped to the neighbor's home, asking them to drive her to Seattle. She was reportedly missing 2 teeth and looking thin. Later, Devontae appeared at the same neighbor's home asking for food on multiple occasions, and the neighbors learned that the Harts regularly withheld food as punishment. I'll read that again. And the neighbors learned that the Harts regularly withheld food as punishment. After a social worker visited the Hart home on March 23, 2018, following the neighbor's tip, the Harts apparently conspired to end their own lives and take the children with them, rather than risk losing custody of them. They left together the following day, March 24th, and authorities believe they did not have a clear plan at that point. The car was found on the morning of March 26, hundreds of miles south. As CHP investigator Jake Slates told the Associated Press, they both decided that this was going to be the end, that if they can't have their kids, that nobody was going to have those kids. Jen Hart, whose YouTube channel remains online, frequently video recorded the children performing. Below is a video of the youngest 4 children singing "We Are So Provided For" in honor of Thanksgiving 2012. And of course this will be linked, so you can listen to this video if you want to. Okay, now that's that for that article. Now let's get into some backstory. But what we've learned here, what we've learned from this is that these 2 women basically decided that they were going to kill themselves and their children because they feared that social services was going to come in and take the children away from them. Yeah, that's basically what we just heard, is that they decided if they couldn't have their children, nobody could have their children. So they decided that they would kill themselves and the children along with them, because there were reports of abuse. You heard what we just read, that the neighbors found out that they would regularly withhold food from the children as a form of punishment. So that's what they did. They killed themselves and those 6 innocent children. They took 6 innocent lives. Now we're going to move on to the next article, and this article will give us some backstory. This article will give us some backstory on the 2 women and how they came to adopt these 6 children. I'm waiting for it to load, but in this article you'll see pictures of the 6 kids. In the SFIS article, you'll see pictures of the 6 kids, and of course, like I said, because it's linked, it'll be linked in the description box. You can always go in and you can listen to the video that they were talking about, that the 4 younger children did. Excuse me, y'all, it's cold. And this is just this is okay. Now this is in news1.com. And this one was written by News One staff, and it was posted April 9th, 2018. So it was posted a year before the one that I just read. Well, yeah, basically give or take a day or two, a year before the one I just read. Here's how much Devontae Hart's parents reportedly profited from adopting black children. Minnesota residents Jennifer and Sarah Hart adopted all 6 children from Texas. There are troubling questions surrounding Devontae Hart, his 5 siblings, and his adoptive parents, who were in an SUV that went off a cliff in Northern California on March 26. His adoptive parents, Jennifer and Sarah Hart, both 39, and 3 of the children, Marcus Hart, 19, Jeremiah Hart, 14, and Abigail Hart, 14, have all been reported dead. Their 3 other adoptive children are still missing, identified as 16-year-old Hannah Hart, 12-year-old Sierra Hart, and 15-year-old Devontae, who is known for a viral photo in which he is hugging a police officer in November 2014. However, they are presumed to be dead as well. Now we're going to get into some of the backstory. Three of the adoptions took place in Houston, Texas, even though they lived in Minnesota. So even though they lived in Minnesota, they went to Houston to adopt 3 children. In 2006, Abigail, Hannah, and Marcus, who are all siblings, were adopted. In 2009, another trio of siblings, Sierra, Jeremiah, and Devontae, were adopted. The Harts were able to adopt 3 more children even after police in Alexandria, Minnesota questioned them about child abuse. So between 2006, when they adopted the first 3 siblings, and 2009, when they got the second set of siblings, there were evidently accusations of child abuse. But they were still allowed to adopt that second trio of siblings. The Oregonian reports an Alexandria police report obtained Tuesday also shows a different daughter told authorities in 2008 one of her mothers bruised her with a belt. Asked by police about the beating, Jennifer and Sarah Hart said the girl had fallen down the steps days before, the report shows. It's unclear why the women adopted the children from Houston, Texas, which is over 1,200 miles away from Alexandria, Minnesota. However, reports have come out claiming the women made a hefty profit from the black children. San Antonio Express News reports the Hart women likely received more than, get this y'all, $270,000 from the state of Texas to help care for the children. And the state paid a Jennifer Jean Hart monthly adoption subsidies for her children over the past decade. Hart got nearly $1,900 each month, most recently in March. The outlet continued, most families who adopt children out of foster care from Texas get monthly payments that range from $400 to $445 per child to help cover care costs until the child turns 18. $270,000. Likely received more than $270,000 from the state of Texas. Because I was kind of wondering, you know, they said that I believe they said that Sarah Hart was the breadwinner in the article we just read. That one of them was the breadwinner and she worked in retail. And I've worked in retail. And retail doesn't pay a whole lot of money unless you're either an assistant manager or a store manager or something like that. So I was wondering, okay, how is this woman supporting 8 people on that kind of money? Now we understand why. There are so many questions to ask. Is there a reason they adopted black children? Some reports claim adoption in Texas is less expensive than the national average, and sadly, adopting black children is even less expensive. Was the Hart's home properly searched? Why did the state allow the women to adopt 6 children like they were purchasing property? Clearly, the system failed Devontae and his siblings. 2 days ago, an unidentified body was found near the Hart's crash site, and there is suspicion the body is one of the 3 missing children. You know, we found out. Now, remember, this is backstory. This is us getting the backstory from 2018. The previous article that I just read is the more recent article. And we know that they found all the children except for Devontae. They still have not found his body. Okay, below is the famous picture of Devontae Hart, the picture of him hugging the police. And our condolences go out to everyone affected by this tragedy. Let's see if they got anything else. No, that's it for this article. Yeah, that's it for that article. So, this is the question that we have to ask. The question that we have to ask is, it's obvious. It's crystal clear that the system failed these children. That's obvious. The system failed these children. But we have to ask ourselves, why would these 2 women who lived in Minnesota, why would they go all the way to Texas, 1,200 miles away, to adopt children? Why would they adopt all black children, or at least all minority children? Because there were some black and then there were other children, but they were all non-white. That's the point. And why were they allowed, after they adopted the first 3 children, why were they allowed to then adopt more children after there were already accusations of child abuse? Because the article clearly says that one of the daughters from the first set of children that they adopted had already reported that she was beaten with a belt and she was bruised by her mother, and their explanation was that she fell down some steps. That was in 2008. Then in 2009, they were allowed to go back to Texas and adopt 3 more children. Okay, so let's go back to the more recent article, to the article that came out this month, this year. When it talks about, you have one of the older siblings, one of the older girls, jumping out of a bedroom window and going to the neighbors with 2 teeth missing and all of this, asking the neighbors to drive her to Seattle. Then you have Devontae going to that same neighbor's house a little later on and talking about the abuse, and they were talking about how thin he was. And we find out that social services was on their way there. So it's like, if we lose our kids, you understand what I'm saying? What happens? If they take these kids from us, what happens? Do we then have to go to work? Do we then have to provide for ourselves? Because that's not how love operates. Let's be real, y'all. That's not how love operates. Something is wrong with you mentally when you think it's okay to kill children. Now, if they wanted to out themselves, you know, if they wanted to commit suicide or whatever, that's fine. If that's what they wanted to do as adults, if that's what they had decided to do as adults, because what I'm seeing here is, it looks like I'm seeing 3 black children and 3 children and 3 Hispanic children. Because you have to remember, each set of 3 were siblings. So I'm seeing 3 black children and I'm seeing 3 Hispanic children. And we just found out that they got more than $270,000 from having these 6 kids. One of them worked in retail. The other one stayed home all day and dealt with social media and online gaming and all of this. So my question is, why do we have 6 children dead? What kind of mental problems did these 2 women have? What was really going on with these 2 women? What was really going on in their minds? And were these children just meal tickets? Were these children just a check every month? And how extensive was the abuse? Near the time the family took off on their fatal trip in late March 2018, neighbors in Woodland reported one of the children, Hannah, had jumped out of her bedroom window and escaped to the neighbor's home, asking them to drive her to Seattle. She was reportedly missing 2 teeth and looking thin. Later, Devontae appeared at the same neighbor's home asking for food on multiple occasions, and the neighbors learned that the Harts regularly withheld food as punishment. After a social worker visited the Hart home on March 23, 2018, Following the neighbor's tip, the Harts apparently conspired to end their own lives and take the children with them, rather than risk losing custody of them. So they left the following day, which was March the 24th, and the authorities believe they did not have a clear plan at that point. The car was found on the morning of March 26, hundreds of miles south. And of course, later, I guess maybe in a rented car or some other vehicle they had bought, they flew off the cliff and just killed everybody. So what is this a case of? Like I said, it's obvious that the system failed the kids. It's very obvious that the system failed the kids. Especially when you have accusations of child abuse as far back as 2008. Just 2 years after they adopted the first set of siblings. Then they were allowed in 2009, a year later, to adopt another set of siblings. And they left Minnesota, Alexandria, Minnesota. They left Minnesota because they were facing these child abuse charges. I'm telling you people, there's a plot. There is a diabolical, demonic plot for our children. And I'm not homophobic. I have absolutely nothing against gay people, bisexual, transgender, whatever. I have nothing against those people. If that's the lifestyle that you want to live, you're full grown, you're consenting, you can make your own decisions, then go ahead and live that lifestyle. I have absolutely nothing to do with that. But it's affecting too many children. When those agendas, especially this LGBTQ agenda, is being pushed on and is being pushed on children, and is leading to this, is leading to this. What kind of abuse was going on in this household? What were these children seeing? What were they experiencing? And do I believe that same-sex couples should be able to adopt children? No, I don't. And the reason why is because it's confusing to a child. You understand what I'm saying? You grow up in a home with two mommies and two daddies. That's confusing. That's sending all kind of wrong signals. So this child doesn't have a chance to grow up. Well, maybe they do. In some cases, maybe some of them do. But it's so conflicting. It's not natural. It's just not in the natural course of things. So it bothers me. It bothers me. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't bother me so much because these women were gay. It bothers me because these women were allowed to keep adopting these children, even under the suspicion of child abuse. They were allowed to leave one town with these children and go somewhere else and continue the abuse. And it comes down to, was it about money? Was this about money? Because it's not until after the social worker visits, and evidently the social worker lets you know that some kind of action is getting ready to go down. Maybe they were on their way to pick the kids up the next day, or you knew inevitably they were coming to get the kids. So you leave the next day, and then you decide that you're just gonna kill everybody. So it had to be about money. Because if it was about love, okay, even if they're not with you, you would rather see them alive and well and with somebody that's going to love them and take care of them than see them with you. And if you were innocent of any abuse, there's no way that you're going to flee and then kill everybody. You know, this is not the first instance that we've, you know, that we've heard of or that we've seen where white people adopt black children and there's just this level of abuse. Now, does that mean that black people that don't abuse black children? No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. But very few black people adopt. Very few, not as many as should. And I don't think that black people are receive the same amount of income from adopting as white people do. I think white people get more money from the state when they adopt black or minority children. But was this about money? That's the thing that boggles my mind. Why are these 6 children dead? And where is LGBTQ in all of this? Why isn't this one of those stories that's been plastered everywhere, plastered all over mainstream media, plastered all over social media? Why is this not one of those stories that's constantly being thrown up in our faces? Because this is more important than what's going on with R. Kelly, Michael Jackson, Bill Cosby, or anybody else, because this is about children now. And children that are dead. Children that lost their lives. So where's the LGBTQ community talking about this? They got something to say about everything else. Where are they to talk about this? Is it so hush-hush because these 2 women were members of the white LGBT community? Is that the reason why it's been so hush-hush? Is that the reason why we haven't seen tons of YouTube videos about it? Like I said, we haven't seen tons of mainstream media coverage on it. Is it because these 2 women were members of the white LGBTQ community? Because I can guarantee you, if they were members of the black LGBTQ community, we'd have heard something about it. But where are they? To explain this. To offer some kind of explanation. Where are they to let people know, don't this is just this case. Don't assume that all children are in danger if they're adopted by same-sex, by same-sex couples. Where's LGBTQ with the statistics and the numbers that talk about other same-sex couples that have adopted children and the success rate and how those children grew up and they turned out, so well and everything, was just fine. Because had these been black people, all of black society would have had to be held accountable for the actions of 2 people. But these were white LGBTQ women. So where's the feminist movement? Where's LGTB to explain this to us, to talk to us about this? What's being done, as far as the system is concerned, the system that let these children down? Are there any safeguards that have been put in place? Is Texas going to make it more difficult for you to come out of state and adopt children and then take them back to another state and you continue to pay them? I mean, that makes no sense. You live in a whole nother state. Why is the state of Texas still paying you? And why, when it looks like you're about to lose your little meal tickets, do you decide that you're just going to kill up everybody? I'm telling you, it's demonic. And if the children can't be changed, or if the children can't be twisted, or if they or whatever the case may be, then just get rid of them. But I'm telling you, people, our children are in danger. Our children, are in danger from all sides. And this whole LGBTQ thing, that this whole gay push and this whole LGBTQ push is not good for our children. I mean, they're going in kindergartens, teaching our children about gender assignment, and trying to open up our children's minds to different lifestyles and different orientations. They're doing this in school and starting with them as young as kindergarten. They're not allowing them to grow up and make their own decisions. They are doing story times with kindergarten students in libraries with drag queens, promoting that whole lifestyle. The traditional family is no longer being supported. It's no longer being promoted in the school system. So we wonder why we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old children who haven't even started puberty yet, who should not even be thinking about sexual orientation or anything sexual at all. Coming out talking about they gay and talking about they transgender. Hormones have not even started raging yet. How do they call it? Prepubescent children. Coming out talking. I mean, why? Because society has them so completely and totally confused. Because that's all they see now. That's the image. Those are the images that's being pushed on our children. Those are the images being pushed on this generation and the generation right under them. That's why the suicide rates among teenagers is so much higher now. And they're so confused about their sexuality because that's the only image that they see. That's the image that they see the most of. I mean, we got parents taking their 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old children to gay pride parades. Why? Why? So-called heterosexual parents taking their children to gay pride parades. Do you know what goes on at gay pride? Has anybody ever, first of all, have you ever been to one? And second of all, have you ever seen the pictures? It's very flamboyant. It's very over the top. And some of the gyrating and the dancing and some of the interaction that's going on between, members of the gay community and all of that is lewd. It's sexually implicit. And it's not something that any child needs to be subjected to. Especially not at an impressionable age. When their minds are still forming. Opinions, everything about them is still forming. If these were heterosexual pride parades and that kind of stuff was going on, it's just over the top, and all these lewd acts and all of these lewd, sexually explicit images and everything for your children to watch, I wouldn't agree with that either. It's just too much. Yes, it's a form of child abuse. It's a form of child abuse. It's a form of child abuse for any parent, any adult, any guardian of a child to subject a child to that kind of atmosphere at such a young age. I mean, we got to look, what is he, an 8, 9, 10-year-old boy? I think his name is Desmond. I'll show you. His picture will be in this video where, he's come out that he's a drag queen, and he actually goes to clubs and dances and performs as a drag queen for grown people, for adults. I think they actually put him on a pole and had him stripping and grown men throwing money at him. I mean, and that's not child abuse. That's not messing with a child's mind. And he's not big as a minute. But I mean, he'd be drag queen down with the wigs and all the makeup and all the hair and all of that. I mean, I'm going to do a story on this one day soon. But, now we've got this, and I won't call names because I'm going to do a story on it. But now we've got this, athlete that has come out promoting and talking about supporting his son. And they took his son to a gay pride, 11 years old, to a gay pride parade. 11 years old. What do you know about sexuality at 11 years old? What do you know about sex, period, at 11 years old? What do you know about an orientation at 11 years old? You barely old enough to dress yourself. You can't make any other decisions for yourself. But you can decide whether or not you gay or lesbian or transgender. You can't decide to go to work. You can't decide that you're just not going to go to school anymore. You can't decide that you're going to walk in the store and buy you a pack of cigarettes or buy you a beer. You can't decide that you're getting ready to go buy you a car and get you some driver's license. You can't decide that you're getting ready to go get you a job. You can't decide that you're getting ready to go buy you a house. You can make no other decisions for yourself, but you can decide that you're gay. You can make that decision. At the age of 13, 14, 15 years old, you have to go to court to be emancipated from your parents. But at the age of 8, 9, 10, 11, you can decide that you're gay. You can decide that you're transgender. You can decide that you're bisexual. But you can't make any other decision about your life. You can't decide where you're going to live. You can make no other major decision about your life at that age. But you can decide about your sexuality, about your sexual orientation. Come on, y'all, that's bullshit. I'm telling you what they're doing. Please pay attention. They are continuing the sexualization of children and turning children more and more and more into sexual beings so that they can push the whole legalizing pedophilia agenda. Because if you got children coming out at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old saying that they're gay or they're transgender or whatever the case may be, okay, well, that's one of NAMBLA's big things, is that they want them to remove the age restriction. the age of consent restriction to down maybe as low as 6, 7, 8 years old. And one of the main things to get it legalized is to be able to say that you're violating these children's civil rights by not allowing them to live their lives the way they want to, by not allowing them to be able to make decisions about their own sexuality. But now remember, these are the same children that cannot make decisions about anything else. So if you got parents out here promoting 6, 7, 8-year-olds coming out talking about their sexual orientation, then what you're saying is, okay, well, they're old enough to realize, you know, that that's what they are, and that that's what they want to do, and that's what their orientation is. So then NAMBLA can come in and say, okay, well, then if they're old enough to realize that that's what they want to do, then they're old enough for us to have sexual relationships with them. Please, people, wake up and realize the setup. Realize what's happening. Realize the real agenda that's being pushed behind the agenda. Why do you think the LGBT community has been working so hard in the last 20, 30 years to prove that they're being discriminated against? And to try to align themselves or make themselves look like, you know, the civil rights struggle or the struggle that Black Americans have in America being discriminated against. Why? Because they want to fall under those anti-discrimination laws. That's the reason why I'm gonna say it again. Kamala Harris and Cory Booker and that whole bunch pushed so hard to get the anti-lynching bill passed and included the LGBTQ community in it, because they're falling under these anti-discrimination laws. Why? Because it's now being classed as a sexual orientation, something that you can't help, something that you're born with. So that gives you special protections. Now, granted, the anti-discrimination laws have never protected us. I mean, Black people never protected us. And being Black is certainly something that we couldn't help. But do I believe that your sexual preference is something that you can help? Yeah. Okay, well, once pedophiles are able to fall into that class of people that falls under those anti-discrimination laws, and all it's going to take now is for the American Medical Association to come out and say that pedophilia is a sexual orientation. That's what they're pushing for. And it's closer than anybody thinks. So once that happens, then it becomes that special class along with LGBTQ. And they fall under anti-discrimination, so you can't discriminate against them. And then the next thing is, all you got to do is just to be able to convince the courts that these children have a right to decide what they want to do, and these children know what they want to do, and you're violating their civil rights by not allowing them to do what they want to do, and boom, it's done. And you got a bunch of grown folk walking around picking children like they picking flowers to have sex with. And all you have to do is convince that 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old that, you know, just say you consented. Just say it's something that you wanted to do. And once they say that, it's done. Parents understand it's done. There's nothing you can do after that. There's no law that protects the child after that. And that's where we're headed. So when you have parents promoting this stuff. You have parents that are willing to parade their children around and act like they're so proud of, oh yes, she transgender. Oh yeah, he gay. Oh yeah, he bisexual. Oh yes, she's a. When you have parents that are parading this stuff around like they're proud of it and promoting it, all they are doing is saying, okay, well, my child is old enough to make that decision. My child is old enough to decide whether or not that's what they want to do. My child is old enough to decide that that's the lifestyle that they want to live. And you're feeding right into the hands of, falling right into the hands of those who are getting closer and closer and closer to legalizing pedophilia. Why? Because you yourself as a parent, you yourself as an adult have said that your child is old enough to make that decision. Your child is old enough, wise enough, mature enough, physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically sound enough to make that kind of decision about their sexuality. So when the courts look at all of these cases of all of these parents that are parading their children around in public, the little Desmond boy that I'm talking about, they had him on Good Morning America. The athlete that I'm talking about, he's now parading his child around all on social media. So when the courts look at how many parents are supporting this and backing it and saying, yeah, they're old enough. Yeah, they're wise enough. Yeah, they're mentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically sound enough. Then the courts will say, okay, well, if you say that they can't have a relationship with this 30-year-old man or this 20-year-old woman, then you're denying them their civil rights. And boom, it's done. Pedophilia is legalized. And then as a parent, you don't stand a chance. Because all they have to get that child to do is say, yeah, I consented to it. Yeah, I wanted it. And that's it. It's done. But people are willing to sacrifice their children for fame and fortune. They're willing to sacrifice the minds, the souls, the lives of their children for careers in Hollywood and to be superstar athletes and to be superstar musicians in the entertainment business. And all around us, children are dying. Children are being affected by this. Children are being molested and raped and growing up all screwed up and twisted in the head and all messed up and dealing with depression and paranoia and all of that, killing themselves, committing suicide because they can't handle it, walking around with the shame of it all their lives. And parents are co-signing it. See, I know what probably happened as far as Texas was concerned. What probably happened is they were so afraid that if they denied them the right to come back and deny the last 3 children and adopt the last 3 children, they might have been accused of discriminating against them because they were gay. And then that would have opened up a whole nother can of worms for the state of Texas. Because a lot of people are giving in. A lot of people are doing things that they know is not necessarily right. That they know is not necessarily prudent. Because they don't want to be called homophobic. And they don't want to deal with the bullying that comes from the LGBTQ community when you stand up to them. When you speak out against them. When you speak out against the bullshit and call it for what it is. So see, because a lot of people are trying to be politically correct in this era of identity politics, where it's no more about the individual person. Now it's about the group that you belong to. People are so busy trying to be politically correct until they're just letting all kind of stuff slide. They're letting all kind of stuff get by. And our children are the ones that are being affected by it. So that's probably why Texas let them come on in and adopt 3 more. That's probably the reason why the folks in Minnesota didn't really pursue it, because the first thing that they would have hollered is, oh, you discriminating against us because we're a same-sex couple. Folks, you better stand up. You better stop worrying about being politically correct. You better stop worrying about being called homophobic. You better stand up, because they're coming for your children. They are coming for your children. And because we have stood by for so long and just let things slide and just let things go by and just think, okay, what can I do? There's nothing that I can do. And watch this country sink into this pit, this cesspool of filth and all kind of demonic activity. But these same parents that are promoting this mess, these same parents that are pushing their children out there and making their children the faces of LGBTQ and transgender rights and identity politics. These are the same parents that once that pedophile picks your child and decides that's the one I want right there, and goes about the purpose of raping your child and convincing the child to say, I consented, this is what I wanted, and there's nothing that you can do about it under the law. Those will be the same parents that want to scream bloody murder. Too late. You sold your child for fame and fortune, for the spotlight, so that you can push this satanistic agenda that's going on. And I want to say something else too. LGBTQ and the feminist movement are big on this toxic masculinity. Very big on this toxic masculinity, you know, being masculine and being a man's man and being a strong man and not being willing to back down and not being willing to tone down or dumb down your manhood or something. It's all of a sudden it's toxic. It's dangerous. Yet we have lesbians doing everything that they can to be masculine, with no natural masculinity. They try to dress like men, try to get their hair cut and fixed like men. They try to talk like men. They try to be buff and studs like men. They try to run game on women like men. They want to work in the same fields of construction and all this kind of, you know, the stuff that people used to say was just man's work. They want to do all of that now. They even try to have sex like men and go buy strap-ons. You know, we're all adults here. Let's be real. So if masculinity is so toxic, then why are you trying so hard as a woman? As a lesbian woman, why are you trying so hard to be masculine if masculinity is so toxic? If it's so bad and it's so dangerous, then why are you trying to imitate it? Why are you going out of your way to try to imitate this masculinity that's so toxic? See, folks pay attention. They get caught up in their own bullshit. If we would just pay attention. And I want to ask you a question. With all of this gay agenda and all of this LGBTQ that's being pushed and all of this feminism that's being pushed, almost like women are trying to get themselves, certain women are trying to get us into a civilization or a culture where we don't have any men. And if we do, they're gay men. If that's the case, what happens to the traditional family? What happens to procreation? How do we keep procreating? If everybody's gay, or the only men that we have in society are gay men, and then we got the women over here, and they're not mixing, how do we procreate? How do we keep the human race going? How do we do it? Do we clone? Do we do it scientifically? Do we produce test tube babies? How do we do it? How do we procreate? How do we keep the human race going? How do we continue? How do we sustain the continuation of the human race if everybody's gay or transgender? How do we do that? Because the image of the traditional family is all but gone. It's all but gone. The image of the traditional father, mother, children, family is all but gone. Traditional family values, all but gone. Well, that's part of Satan's agenda, to destroy the family. Because once he destroys the family, he destroys the fabric of the world. But everybody wants to be so politically correct. Everybody wants to be so inclusive. Nobody wants to say anything because they don't want to be accused of being a hater, or they don't want to be accused of being homophobic. Well, you can call me homophobic or whatever you want to call me, but I see the agenda behind the agenda. And I know who you're really aiming at. Children. And LGBTQ and the feminist movement, y'all can kill it with that toxic masculinity. Because like I said, it can't be but so toxic when you got all these lesbian chicks walking around trying to be studs and trying to show how masculine they are and how manly they are. Right down to, like I said, trying to have sex like men do. And going buying strap-ons. Trying to imitate masculinity. Trying to imitate what it is to really be a man. But we're supposed to believe you when you say that masculinity is toxic. Unless it's some watered down, dumbed down, toned down, sissified masculinity like all these gay dudes walking around. Wearing dresses and carrying pocketbooks. It just came to me, but that's probably the very reason why Texas allowed them, these two women, the Harts. Yeah, I guess they call themselves married since they had the same last name. But I guarantee you that's the reason why Texas allowed them to come back and adopt that second set of siblings, even after the abuse allegations had been reported and all of that. And that's probably the reason why Alexandria didn't go head on with them about the abuse, is because everybody was just too busy trying to be politically correct. Everybody was just too busy, you know, being afraid of being called homophobic or discriminating against them because they were a same-sex couple. So now 6 children are dead. 6 innocent lives have been taken. 6 shining bright lights have been extinguished because folks scared. Because folks scared to come up against the mighty LGBTQ community. Because folks are scared to be called homophobic. We got 6 innocent lives and one whole body missing. They still haven't found Devontae. They still haven't found his body. So what did they do to him? Did they kill him before they left the house? Before they left Woodland? Did they kill him on the trip from Washington State to California? Where's Devontae? People, you better wake up and stand up. Because at this point, as far as this is concerned, this is not a black or white issue. Because you know on this channel, I'm very pro-black. I'm not anti-white, but I'm pro-black. Because before I'm anything else, I'm a black woman. Before I'm a mother, before I'm a daughter, before I'm a journalist or news reporter, or whatever you want to call me on this platform, before I'm a publisher, before I'm anything else, before I'm a grandmother, before I'm anything else, I'm a black woman. So I'm very pro-black. But this right here is not even a black and white issue. It goes even deeper than that. This is about our children. And they don't care what race or color or creed or nationality they are. They just want the children. Dead or alive, they want the children. So folks, you better wake up and realize what's going on. We got 6 children dead. Probably. I'm not even going to say possibly. I'm going to say probably. Because state officials were too afraid to really research and really investigate these women and really find out what was going on. Because they did not want to be classed as being homophobic or discriminating against them because they were of the same sex. They didn't want to go up against, like I said, the mighty LGBTQ community. Well, I'm going up against them. Call me homophobic, anything you want to call me. I'm going up against them. Because the lives of children, their minds, their futures are at stake. I've got a granddaughter. And I don't want her to grow up in a world where a full-grown man, she's 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, and a full-grown man or a full-grown woman can decide, I want her. I want to have sex with her. I want to have a relationship with her. And because I didn't speak out when I had a chance, the law says, okay, as long as she consents to it, you can do that. And all that adult has to do is threaten that child privately or seduce that child in some way to say they consented. And that's it. Me as her grandmother and her father, who is my son, we then have we have no legal recourse. There's nothing we can do. No. I refuse to sit back and live in a society like that. And that's what we're coming to. Is the LGBTQ community actively a part of this? Not all of them. But the powers that be that support that movement, the powers that be that support the feminist movement, they know what's going on. They know what the real agenda is. Even if just the people in the LGBTQ community don't understand and don't know, the powers that be, they know. So to keep you from distracted from what's really going on, like I said, they want to parade the R. Kellys and the Michael Jacksons in front of you. People that have already been to court, have already been tried, and found not guilty. They want to parade those people around in front of you. They want to keep putting those people in your face. They want to shove those people in your face. But stuff like this, where 6 children is that, it gets tucked away somewhere. Stuff like the Sundance guy that I just reported on gets tucked away somewhere. Stuff like Harvey Weinstein and Bryan Singer and Kevin Spacey, that stuff gets tucked away somewhere. This goes out to all my members of the LGBTQ community. Wake up. Wake up and realize. For those of you who don't, wake up and realize what's really going on here. It's not about adult gay people. It's never been about adult gay people. It's always been about the minds of the children. The minds and the souls of the children. Set aside yourself for a minute. You grown. You can do what you want to do. Set aside yourself for a minute and think about the children. And think about how in the world can you be old enough or wise enough or mentally, emotionally, psychologically, physically sound enough to decide anything about sex when, first of all, you're not even fully developed. You haven't even hit puberty yet. And second of all, you're not old enough to make any other decision in your life. So if you're not old enough to make any other decision in your life, how can you possibly be old enough to make decisions about sex? Have you noticed they keep bringing everything back to sex? Just like I said in one of my videos on the whole Leaving Neverland thing. Because society is so sexualizing children and turning children into little mini sex objects. That's the reason why society couldn't accept MJ, quote unquote, sleeping with children. He was able to take the sex out of it because he did not see children in a sexual way. But children are more and more and more and more and more in this society being sexualized. And they're being sexualized at younger and younger ages. Think about that. And think about why that is. Think about why that's becoming the push. Think about why the image of children is becoming so much more sexual. I remember, and some of you may remember this, some of you may be too young to remember this, but I remember the whole John Bonet thing. When John Bonet was murdered, and they still don't know who killed this little girl. And, you know, and her mom was big on having her in all these beauty contests and all of that. And she was so sexualized. All the makeup, the hair, the dress, she was so sexualized. and she was sexually molested and murdered. And I remember how everybody reacted to it all of those years ago. Because I think JonBenet was late 80s, early 90s. And people were just aghast. People were just horrified. People were just shocked and disgusted that this little girl was looking like this, and that her mom was, you know, going over the top. You know, beauty contest was one thing, but this mom just really went over the top with the makeup and the hair and all of this. I mean, she looked like a little mini Marilyn Monroe sometimes. And we know Marilyn Monroe was nothing but a sex object. But that's becoming normal now, to see children like that. And to see little boys all made up with the hair and the makeup and the eyelashes. And to think that there's actually a parent that has their child out in bars, adult bars, doing drag queen routines. Come on, people. And they so proud of it and think it's all right. So they got this child on Good Morning America. So you think he's not going to have issues when he grows up? You think he's not going to have mental, emotional issues when he grows up? That's not abuse to you. But again, because of this whole agenda, and because we're sitting back being politically correct, because we don't want to be called homophobic, because we don't want to have to go up against LGBTQ, we don't want to be accused of spreading hate and discriminating. 6 children, 6 are dead. Because those who were appointed to care for them, those who were appointed to look after their lives, probably were too afraid to really investigate these 2 women, to really go deep and really see what was really going on, because they didn't want to be accused of discriminating against a same-sex couple. They didn't want to be accused of being homophobic. They didn't want the backlash of going against the mighty LGBTQ community. And very, very probably because of that, like I said, 6 bright lights have been extinguished. They're gone. They're gone. Whatever their futures could have held, they're gone. And nobody's talking about them. Nobody's remembering them. Nobody's asking any questions. Nobody's looking into it. Nobody is saying, hey, what could we have done to prevent this? And what do we need to do to prevent this in the future? Nobody's saying anything. Six. Not 1, not 2, but 6. When the signs of abuse and the allegations of abuse have been there ever since 2008, 11 years later, there was 11 years to prevent this. 11 years to prevent it. 11 years to keep these 6 children alive. Allegations of abuse in 2008. Allegations of abuse in 2018. Well, 10 years. 10 years to prevent this. 10 years to keep this from happening. And nobody did anything. Why? Most likely, like I said, because people were just afraid. People were just too concerned with being politically correct. So nobody said anything. Nobody did anything. Nobody investigated. Nobody moved in. Until it got so bad that they had to pay attention to it. But by that time, it was too late. And now 6 children are dead. Children. Folks, when are we going to stop making it about us as adults and start making it about the children? When is it going to stop being about what we want and what we want to do and how we want to live our lives? When is it going to stop being about us, grown adults, and start being about the children? We say the children are our future, but how much are we really investing in the children? How much concern are we really showing for the children? How much have we ever? We battle and we war and we debate over foolishness while our children go unprotected. While our children go defenseless. Because we want to argue the politics. And we want to be politically correct. And we want to be a part of this party or that party. Or this movement or that movement. And the easiest things for us to sacrifice are our children. This has been KM Steps with Undiluted TV. Please like this video. Please share this video. Please comment in the comment box. But if you come at me with that homophobic mess, I'm just gonna delete you. I'm just gonna block you. The links to these articles will be in the description box. The link to my PayPal if you want to support the channel and donate will be in the description box. Please hit that bell notification so you can be notified when we upload videos. Remember, people, the easiest thing, it seems, to sacrifice is our children. Good morning.